All right, everyone. Today is our first official story on the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast that is not mine. And to kick off the rebrand of the podcast, we were hosting a book basket giveaway. So if you were on Instagram, our email list, or in our private Facebook group community, you were aware of this giveaway. So thank you to everybody who went on iTunes. You can still, of course, post a review if you want, but thank you to everybody who did that. And we are going to give a huge shout out to the winner, who is Ashlee Doc. SHELLYDOC. Ashlee Doc, thank you so much for your review and kind words on the rebrand. I love all of you listening, and you are truly making an impact, of course, in my life too. I know everyone always tells me, oh, thank you, but I just want to know that without you all, I wouldn't be here. So Shelley wrote, been listening since 2016. Love Heather and her message. Now with the new and evolving direction of her show, I'm loving it too. Can't wait to experience it all. So thank you, Shelley. And Shelley, reach out to us, support@heatherchauvin.com. We'll also be posting your name on Instagram and inside of our private Facebook group as well. And you will get our gift basket. So the gift basket has the Dying to Be a Good Mother book in it. It has all the candles, some shower stuff, a Turkish towel, a body, dry brush. And it is valued at $150 and it's Canadian made. All right, let's dive into today's story with Ashlee.
On a trip for a friend's wedding, my entire world changed. I was married to a man and had a 2.5-year-old son. I had started my own business and should have been happy. Only I was just going through the motions, believing the stories I had been told for years about what adulting, mothering, and even being a wife was. I was doing the things, but was feeling so alone and empty. I was caught in the cycle of should and living for everyone else, yet somehow was not making anyone happy, especially not myself. And to top it all off, I felt guilty about it. My then husband and I, we weren't happy together, and I knew we were headed for divorce. Neither of us having the desire or the skill set to attempt to even work it out. You see, my entire life changed when we had our son, and his didn't at all. I had less time, and he had more time for his hobbies and extracurricular activities. I take responsibility for this, in part because it was my doing. I thought that this is what life and mothering was. I never asked for anything, not what I wanted, and especially not what I needed. He was also following the stories that he had been told to him about the role of a father. And I eventually grew resentful and really wasn't much fun to be around. So he wasn't. We grew apart, and while we hadn't actually said the words, we knew our marriage was over. So when I had the opportunity to go and celebrate my friend's wedding, I went on this trip and my mind was absolutely blown. I went with a group of couples who were all same-sex couples. And I saw for the first time so much of what I was craving and missing in my life. These couples wanted to be with each other. They sat beside each other. They held hands. They were affectionate. They woke up together. They went to bed together. They ate meals together. Like, they actually genuinely enjoyed each other and respected each other. And I realized in that moment, I wanted more for my life. And it scared the crap out of me to feel that, like, big time. On this trip, I also met Kate. She was playful, super flirty, mischievous, and held the most intense eye contact with me. It was like she was really truly seeing me, and it made me so uncomfortable because nobody had ever looked at me the way she did. It made me question everything and made me think about things that I had never thought about before. And then she said something to me that gave me that holy shit moment. And she looked right at me and said, "I think I can get a kiss." I didn't answer. I just walked away. And again, for the next 24 hours, anytime our eyes met, which was often, she would say, yes, no. And for 24 hours, I didn't answer. I put it off. I tried not to think about it because I knew that if I did kiss her, I could never go back. And that all that I knew of myself would be gone. I even told her at one point that in a different life, I could do that. In a different life. It was all I could fathom, was that if I was a different person with different circumstances, then I could kiss her. And I got really real with myself. I went to that part of me that remembered how to wish and dream, to the part of me that remembered what I had always desired for my life, what I pictured being in love to look like. And then I did what scared me the most, and I kissed her. And my entire world did, in fact, change in exactly the way that I had always imagined. And from that moment on, there was no going back. It was like I had finally found that piece of me that was missing from my heart. And the journey was scary, but it was so worth doing. There were a lot of hard conversations that followed, and, my inner dialogue about, so I guess this makes me gay, and the major life changes that came along with it. But really, it was just getting to be fully me with her and being so fully seen by another person and being open to allowing myself to be seen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barf,
Thank you.
barf, barf.
Barf, barf, barf. You know me. I love it
Yes,
when
I
people
do.
want to barf. What was that last line that you just said? Allowing myself to be fully seen.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, because you are the first official, interview, and I'm using air quotes, of Emotionally Uncomfortable, which is, it's the rebrand of Mom is in Control, but also just the desire that I've been having through releasing the mom, like that mom title and mom identity from my brand. Of course, you and I know that mothering is a huge part of both of our identities.
Yep.
But just like you revealed it, there's a lot of identity attached to this. And so many questions that I want to ask you, but thank you for just being brave and saying your story. It's funny because you and I have had conversations about this, but how, when we're telling those intimate moments, the instant connection that it creates between two humans.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when I'm listening to interviews, it's like, tell me your backstory. Tell me where you're from. What do you want to say to the world? So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. It's the first time I've really said that all out loud. So thank you.
Did you share the story with Kate?
Well, she was there, so she knows the story.
But did you read this story to her?
No.
No.
Why would I do that, Heather?
I'm going to get Kate's contact information. And no, I'm just kidding.
I like to surprise people sometimes. And no, I told her I was going to be sharing this story. And, you know, she smiled and walked away. So I took that as approval.
I love it. Yeah. Sometimes communication doesn't need to come in verbal. It's an energy, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we're talking about. Okay. Cycle of shoulds. This is what I wrote down. Cycle of shoulds, guilt, not asking for what I wanted or needed, attending a wedding. Well, I wrote same-sex couples. And then I put sexual identity, truly seeing me, holy shit moment, I think I can get a kiss, and something that I can't read at the bottom. But what I found interesting in this story, because a lot of times when we're talking about, we love labeling humans, who we should love, who we should feel connection to, gender identity, sexual identity. And that's really not even what this conversation or story is about.
No.
It's about you eliminating the shoulds and really allowing yourself to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, as I reflect back on it, because a lot of people always say, oh, well, how long have you known you've been a lesbian for? And I still don't fully identify with being a lesbian. Whenever everyone asks me, tell me, who are you? That actually never comes up. And it's not that I don't see myself that way. It's just, I actually see myself just madly in love with Kate. I don't know that I would be in love with other women, right? Or be attracted to other women. It's her. And it was like her energy, her intensity, her seeing me. And it was like we were just completely pulled together. So, she reminds me often that does make me a lesbian. The fact that we're married makes me a lesbian. Because she'll say this, like we honestly have this conversation often. But that for me,
I find that so funny. She's like, FYI, that's the definition.
Yeah. Being two women being married makes you a lesbian. So, but that's not that's not like a label I slap on myself. And for me, it was just so much more about being seen and feeling completely free to just be myself. And she knew what I needed. She knew, and still does, right? Like we're very, very connected in a way that I've never been connected with someone before. She can anticipate my needs. I share with her my needs now. And I know hers, like we're very, very connected, and that's the difference. But I also think I dropped the armor to allow that to happen. And because I took this big risk and did something I shouldn't have done, it made all of the armor kind of come off and make it possible for me to do a lot of things I shouldn't do.
I love you're like, shouldn't do.
Shouldn't do that. I love it.
So let's talk about being wildly emotionally uncomfortable. That holy shit moment. Like there is a connection here, regardless if it's Kate or not. It sounds like you were like, the choice is made.
Yeah.
I need to blow up my life.
Yeah. It really did feel like that in the moment. And I think part of it too, for me, I was so far away from my real life. Like I was away in a resort on a trip without my life, without my son and without my then husband. And I was very far removed from my real life. And I felt like I was, experiencing what things could be. And that was uncomfortable because it made me at times sad for myself that I wasn't following through on what I'd always wanted to do when it came to love. Like, I remember being a kid and my parents are divorced. And I remember telling myself as a kid that A, I was never going to get divorced, but B, that I was going to be one of those disgusting couples who made their kids want to vomit because they were always kissing and hugging and like schmooping over each other. My made up word. But that's what I always envisioned my love life to be like, because I didn't see that in my real life. And I didn't follow through with that. I just got complacent, and it wasn't like a love story. And I was letting myself down. So when I saw other people having it, I thought, oh, it does exist. It just doesn't exist for me right now. So it made me sad, but then it made me super curious as to what is out there. And Kate had said something else to me on the trip about, you know, you can have 75% of the boxes checked in life, but if there's a possibility to have 100%, why not go for it?
I love that. Yeah. Why are you only showing up 75%? And we're not, how many of us just don't finish, right? It's like you don't finish the project. You don't push through the last little bit. And it almost reminds me of how we get to that moment. And it's like right on the other side of it. And you're right there and you're like, if I open that door, I cannot go back. So I'm just going to stay in this comfort zone.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, and I thought at the time, 75 should be good enough.
That's what they tell you.
That is, right? I did the things, right? I had the job, I had the house, I had the guy, I had the kid, had the dog, like I had the things. And it was 75%. I didn't have the love, right?
So
I didn't have that.
When you came back, so this is a story about love. This is a story about fully being seen. I think people are always intrigued, like, when did you know? When did you know? And yet you're like, listen, I think there's always parts of ourselves that we're numbing to please other people or to fit in or to hide. And then there's the undoing. And then when people finally give themselves permission to be whoever the hell they want to be, whatever they want to do, people are blown away because that identity of how people know them, they're like, oh, and yet it's like, no, they've always been like that, except you did not fully see them because we don't see all parts of people.
Yeah. And we sometimes don't let ourselves be seen.
Right.
Right. We hold things back because for me, it was more worrying about being judged by other people. And what I've learned and still continue to learn is that the only person who is doing the most judging is me.
Yeah.
I'm judging myself more than anybody else is. And for those who do have a lot to say about my life and my decisions and who I am, well, I have noise canceling headphones for that.
And I just love that you're like, oh, I got noise canceling headphones for that. But yet sometimes fear can still be very strong because yes, you've taken this one big courageous step and you let go of some of the shoulds. And then yet parallel experiences happen in life and we can get stuck again.
Yeah.
We can get stuck in that.
Well, and I think too, for me, when I came home, and obviously there was a lot of work to do. There was a lot that needed to be done before Kate and I were actually like together. But it's everyone kept saying, or, you know, friends who were in similar situations or weren't happy in their marriages or wanted something more for their lives, you know, were saying things to me about how brave I was and how they wish they could be brave like me. And so, and for me, I was just tired of not living my potential. And I kept going back to I want my son to see gross, disgusting, madly in love. And he does. He barfs every day. But I wanted him to...
In a good way.
In a good way, yes. In a good, respectful, mutually beneficial relationship so that he has an opportunity to grow up and see love and want more and expect more for himself when it comes to that.
So was that holy shit moment when you met her, or did you have those holy shit moments, like those emotionally uncomfortable moments again and again and again and again, like through the journey as you're like, okay, that moment happened. Now I can't go back. Now I have to go home and face my life. Holy shit, holy shit. Okay, now I had that uncomfortable conversation. Okay, now we need to do this. Now I need to tell this person. Mm-hmm. Was it moment after moment?
Yeah, I think the biggest holy shit moment was when she looked at me and said, I think I can get a kiss. And she had this like smirk on her face that she was very sure.
Conviction.
She was very sure. So yes, that was like the biggest like world rocking moment. And then after that, I feel like they were just like small tremors. So they were definitely moments that I had to go through, you know, mostly telling my family that my husband and I were separating. And then following that up with and by the way, I tried to give them some space, but
there is not another man. It's a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. That was an intense conversation, but I also I have a lot of friends, in my life, a lot of people in my life who are lesbians and others that are in same-sex relationships. And I didn't even think that would be an issue for people. For some it was, because it was more about them having to grieve. I underestimated people's need to grieve my relationship and who I was. But once they had the time to grieve that, it was all good.
You know, it's interesting when you just said that, like, I know what that's like, especially when there's connection in those relationships, like, hey, this partnership is splitting. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, well, how is our relationship going to change? Right. Cause you change in that regardless. But when you just said they were having to grieve, I guarantee you what they're actually grieving. Cause you know me, I'm all about Byron Katie and mirror work. And, you know, like, what does that mean for them? What are they grieving? And I guarantee you there's a part of themselves that in that moment they get a choice. Am I going to let go of this part of myself that I am truly not seeing? And I think that's what is really happening when we're so triggered by how other people are living their lives. Like, I just had a friend not too long ago say, hey, like we're moving to another country. And this friend, we're close, but we don't spend a lot of physical time together. And I watched myself react a little bit in the sense where I was like, why am I actually really upset about this when we don't physically see somebody? But it's the opportunity that, you know, we can see somebody. Right. But I'm also the type of person where if I get triggered, I'm not going to project that on somebody because I understand that's my shit and not theirs. And I was like, I'm so happy and excited for you, which I am. But it's that sadness or that grief of like, oh, you're leaving. When in reality, it's like, we can still be in the same place and I don't see you. So why am I upset about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we feel like we're losing something.
Exactly. And it's more a them issue as opposed to a me issue. Or it was for some people, you know, I think like, especially my mom, for instance, was just like, how did I not know this about you?
Yeah.
You know, why did you keep being gay from me? And that was the hardest part for me to have to communicate was I didn't think I was gay and I still don't identify like that. I just am in love with her, which apparently makes me gay.
So you've been told again and again by your wife.
By my wife that makes me a lesbian. So for me, that was my struggle. Was I was in love with Kate, and it had nothing to do with the fact that she was a woman, but it was more about her and who she was and what she brought to my life and what she saw in me as well. So it was just different.
What I'm curious about is how, when we don't identify as something, this is oftentimes why people don't feel like they fit in, right? So you'll have a whole community who's like, okay, you're gay. Yay. Come on over here. And then you go to that room and you're like, I still don't fit in here. Right. Or I don't fit in here. Or, people who take on recovery or sobriety or parenting, mothering, like all of the little niche groups. It's because we're individuals and we're allowed to have our own belief systems. Just because somebody identifies as something or doesn't identify doesn't mean that. Yeah. But I could see that why your mother would be triggered like that as a mother. If you were like, how did I not fully see my child?
Yeah.
Like that would be a grief.
Where she wanted to help, right? She wanted to, I think she was also trying to understand like why my marriage didn't work out. And I think she was trying to figure out, oh, it's because you're gay. Right. So it doesn't matter. Like that was her trying to put it together. But, and again, even for me, when you say okay, you're in this group, so come on over here and we'll accept you in this group. That doesn't happen for me. So
what do you mean?
So even in like the lesbian community, I'm not like part of a community. And Kate and I joke because the only time that anyone recognizes me as like a lesbian is when I'm holding her hand because she is a super lesbian, right? Like everyone, she, would follow the stereotypical. Yeah, you could follow the stereotypical, and we laugh about it because we can. But if I'm walking by myself, she always says, she's like, you're never getting the lesbian nod. Right? You know how like Jeep drivers like wave at each other? Yeah. So it's just, again, for me, it was about being with her and being with somebody who actually saw me and really just let me like be myself, all the weird, silly, unconventional parts of me, and has really given me the courage to keep doing more. Right? Like even working with you, I'm not sure I ever would have done that before. Right? I think she cracked me open and gave me this like opportunity to seek 100% without it being like perfectionism, but like always seeing how much better can it get.
Yeah. Which is so interesting because as you've been talking, I mean, I get to know people more and more, but for me in this moment, I'm like, this all makes sense now because you've had one of those moments where you've had a holy shit moment where you made a radical decision and broke a should cycle. And there was something that you said earlier, which was like, I never want my son, like I want my son to see a relationship where, two adults are in love, and that's what a relationship or a partnership or marriage should look like. And so you were on the quest for that, where I was very similar in a different sense, where I'm like, I never want my child or children to feel the way that I did. Like it was a determination. And so it's these deep, like psychological factors that bring people together that can have wildly different lives. And yet there's that core value. So people always think, why are they attracted to my work? Or why is it this? Is it because I talk about this or this? It's like, no, there's those values. And a lot of them you can't see. And that person probably can't name it either.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, I've been really holding on to this like message that keeps going in my head is it is possible. So I talk to a lot of people in the work that I do, and I hear over and over, yeah, that would be great, but it's not possible. Or I can't change this because of this, 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 and this. Or that's just the way it is. Or this is how we've always done it. And my brain doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the parts of me that was shed when I shed kind of that former life, was this whole idea of I can't because of this, or it's not possible. And now I really see what's possible. I'm not saying there isn't work that goes behind it, but I truly just desire so badly for people to focus on what is possible, what they can control, and what changes they can make. Because I think a lot of people get stuck in what they can't do.
Yeah, because they're shitting on themselves, or it's like, especially the last 2 years, it should be this way. It should be this way. And it's like, but it's not, and it's not going back. So what are you going to do about the present moment?
Yeah.
Which is intriguing, because even talking to you, and I want you to talk a little bit about your work and what you do. But the theme of this conversation is truly being seen. And essentially you had to do that first for yourself. I mean, I'm probably going to say that over and over again until I'm blue in the face, which I feel like that saying is not good either, but, till I'm dead. I'm going to say it over and over again, because people can see you, but until you give yourself permission to fully see you, it's not going to click, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you got to own it. How many times do I say that to people? I'm like, I can get you there, but like, you got to own it. Like, you have all the tools, pick them up, put it on, own it. If you don't know how, like, if you don't know how to do that yet, you just got to feel it and get there. And that's essentially what you're doing in your business, is getting your clients to see other people.
Yeah.
Like, really see that person. What's coming up for them? So yeah, talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah. So I've been really focused on working with leaders to help them keep their teams and clients happy, right? That's ultimately, at the end of the day, when their team is thriving, when their clients are thriving, their business is going to be thriving. And it does start with the leader. And I know that that's a lot of pressure to put on leaders, but when you can set the intention of, this is how I want to lead my team, and this is what I want my clients to feel, it's all going to kind of cascade out and create really awesome results for you. So I work with leaders to bring their team together, help them appreciate people. Because sometimes we get into the doing of things that we forget the feeling of it, and just really focusing on ease, because that's what I know as a small business owner I needed at times, was to know that I could do the things and it was possible, and to carve out that time to really invest in connections and relationships with people.
I love that. You said something about leaders and responsibility. And I would think that I'm somebody that's in that position where I can really see myself now, where I'm like, I have to take care of myself. I have to, I'm going to say, process that responsibility to good. But really now the position that I'm in as a CEO, I use air quotes because I do not identify as a CEO, and I hate titles. I'm just such a fucking rebel that I'm like, don't label me. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I got to get over that if I want to help more people. But I heard one time someone say the responsibility of a CEO, and of course every company is going to be shifted or going to be structured differently, different culture, is you are taking on the emotional load. Like you are managing those emotions of your team, clients, all of that. Right. And so my job is actually, like, my number one priority is to manage my energy. Like, I went to the gym today, and to legally go to the gym because I live in Ontario and we're in the middle of a pandemic. I had to hire a personal trainer because the gym is closed down. So this is legal. I'm saying this legally. Okay. To get into the door of the fucking gym at the time of this recording, I had to put on this hat of how can I? Because my bigger why was I need to manage this energy. And when I didn't make it about my body, when I didn't make it about me, I was like, this is going to help me show up for everyone.
Yeah.
And so now this becomes a business strategy. Now this becomes a business thing, or focus parenting or marriage or whatever. And so, yeah, I can totally see that. And I don't feel like there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders because I can feel the weight of my influence, and that if I just decided to exit, meaning I'm like, who cares? I'm just closing up shop. People would be disappointed and sad and upset. But what I've had to do is actually accept that I have purpose and influence, because it was really fucking easy for me to hide and keep telling myself that story that I don't matter. Because that was a huge story for me. And I can still go there. I don't matter. I don't have a purpose on this earth, and nobody's really going to notice if I'm gone.
Well, I call bullshit on that, but
I understand that.
Yeah.
But in order to feel it, I have to face that almost every single day and buy myself into that. But the more I accept that truth, the less pressure I feel, because I'm like, I matter, which means I don't have to do the work for everybody else, but I can help them.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest piece for leaders is, so many leaders I see show up defensive, right? Or frustrated that they have these people who need something from them. And it's mostly because they're trying to give from an empty cup, right? I associate a lot of leadership like parenting.
Yeah.
Right. All the same lessons that we tell the moms and the parents and the dads out there, like, to fill yourself up first and to, take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, is the same lessons in leadership that we need to be doing. Except for some reason, when we cross over that line into business, it's like we have to put on a different persona. And that's where the wheels fall off, because people are afraid of letting their team see them. They are afraid of holding boundaries with their team. They're afraid of, taking care of themselves when their team might need them. And that actually does, like you were saying, so much more damage. There's so much more benefit to your team when you can lead by example, right? If you want your team to hold boundaries, you have to hold boundaries. Because you are teaching them, you're coaching them, you're a mentor. You're all of these things to people, and it could go really well or it couldn't. There's two ways.
I know. Do you know how many people have said to me, do you offer a coaching certification? Or what coaching certification did you take? Or I don't feel qualified. Whatever it is, right? Yeah. And I'm like, why is a piece of paper make you qualified? Because that's what we've been brainwashed to believe. Or you just need to tell me how to get my child to, you just need to tell me how to get this person to, how do I emotionally manipulate them? That's essentially what they're saying. And I'm like, you become that person. And if you're saying like, oh, I've already done that, you're a fucking liar, because I have to practice that on a daily basis. And I'm given so many growth opportunities on a daily basis, triggered by team, clients, my mother who lives with me, which is my favorite teacher, like every single day. And most of the time I want to fix these people. Most of the time I want to do the work for them, that like, just let me do it. No, I'm going to teach you how to do it. Oh, I want this 100% for you, and you only want it 50%. Doesn't matter how bad I want it for you or how much work I do for you. You're actually never going to get it, because the second I leave, you're going to fall to pieces.
Yeah.
which is why we feel the pressure.
And I think that that's why, kind of going back to that holy shit moment with Kate, the whole like letting myself feel and giving myself permission to make a major life change was exactly what I needed, because it really, like, again, I keep saying it cracked me open to see all of the other parts of my life that I've been holding back on, and all of the other parts that just needed a bit of a shakeup. And I can see it now in other people. And for me, I know, like, for people who are in marriages and they're not happy or whatever, my go-to is not get divorced and like, find someone else.
Yeah.
It's figure out what you actually want and then start doing the things to get it. And that goes for marriage. It goes for co-parenting. It goes for parenting, business, right? And just even friendships. It really matters. And, just why go for 75% when you can have 100%?
I love that. When you just said that of like, even what you want, I often find sometimes people are like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what that looks like. It's like, just realize, like, stop focusing the energy and attention on that thing. Like, maybe, like you said, maybe it's not the child, maybe it's not the person, and just making yourself stronger, right? Like, how do you want to feel? There's many times I've had conversations with clients where they come in, they're like, I think I have to leave my marriage. I'm like, I don't even think a couples counselor is going to be able to answer that for you. They're going to look you dead in the eyes and be like, this is done. Like, it's crispy. You need to release that. Yeah. And you're going to look back at them and go, I can't, or what am I supposed to do? You already know the answer deep down, and nobody can give that to you. It doesn't matter how qualified they are. But if you keep saying, maybe we need to end this, maybe we can salvage it. But while we're doing that, I'm going to keep following the breadcrumbs, as I call them, become stronger so that the clarity does come. Or how many people I know who are like, I want to start a business. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, where's your business? Oh, I just feel better. And now I'm staying in my corporate job.
Yeah. Yeah. You're putting a Band-Aid over it. You're not solving the problem.
Yeah. And you're asking for the step by step.
Yeah. It's a quick fix. And like I said, when I saw Kate and met her, and, there was obviously things before that, even just seeing all the other couples, and it was like, that was the like kind of flashing light that was saying this. And at that point for me, it was, like this now, because if I don't do this now, I'm going to go back and fall into that regular routine and just, kind of phone it in. And I wanted more for that in my life.
And what just came up for me was when you said this, you were looking at other people who were in healthy, connected relationships, who were at some point in their lives had to make a holy shit moment decision and follow their heart. They were not trying to convince you. Nobody was putting you in a circle and being like, you're a lesbian, like, and trying to, they're just
no,
like,
it wasn't a cult.
No, they were being themselves, aligned self, embodying who they wanted to be. And I'm sure obviously everyone's got their shit. So you were seeing, you're like, I want that. And they had to do nothing to you. Yeah. They didn't have to convince you. They didn't have to coach you. They didn't have to do anything. You saw it. So they were the role models. And that's my point, is leadership is about role modeling.
It is.
And not
you have no idea
of someone else.
Sometimes what impact you're having on someone's life, right? Like I never said to them like, oh, I want what you have. I never said that. I just saw. And, so you never know as a leader, or just human being in this world, what kind of impact you're having on other people's lives.
I love that. So we can wrap it up, because I feel like we could have this conversation forever. One, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
I know you have a podcast. Like, where can people find you? I always encourage one-to-one connection. If someone can reach out to you on Instagram, so let them know what you're up to.
Yeah. So I do have a podcast. It's called Teams with Edge. So we do a lot of interviews with leaders who are doing awesome things for their team and clients. So that's a great place to take a listen. Or Instagram, you can always send me a message. I'm at ashlee.livingstone. And I spell my name with lots of E's. So Heather can put in the
spell it out though, just in case.
So it's Ashlee, ASHLEE .Livingstone, LIVINGSTONE.
Hey, that rhymes.
That's where I am. I know. I've got a little sing to it, don't I? Clearly had to say it a lot.
Love it, love it. All right. Thank you, Ashlee.
Thank you.
There it is. You just listened to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. If you want to take this conversation to the next level, head on over to our private Facebook group community, heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. My last name is spelled CHAUVIN. That's heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. Or you can text the word Facebook to 313-710-5199. That's 313-710-5199. It's a U.S. phone number, and text message rates will apply. Also, if you are a huge fan of this show, please rate and review it on iTunes. Every review helps another woman like you take back control of how she wants to feel and become emotionally uncomfortable. I truly believe the better we feel, the more alive we become. This is how we are going to change the world. And if you've been watching me for a while, if you've been on the fence and you're curious, how can Heather help me? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me to check out my mastery and mastery business coaching programs. That's heatherchauvin.com/work with me.